you've shown up to people who aren't judging you.
Yeah.
They're just there to encourage you and love you for what you're doing, you know,
Yep.
and so,
Yep.
and to back you up 100%. So.
Righto, folks. Welcome back to another Sauna Sessions with Shay. We're in the sauna here today with We've got some new merch on, and Luke Doecke is on the opposite me here. He's wearing in fine form. He's a great model, mate, for what's going on with the
Thank you,
hats. Yeah, thanks for joining us, mate.
No, thanks for having me. It's been great to get in here and sweat it out for a bit.
Yeah. Well, you've had the deluxe package today. You've done the breath work. Then you've done 3 minutes in the ice bath at 7 degrees.
Yep.
How'd you find that, mate?
It was really good, actually. The breath work got me buzzing a bit, and then just into the cold for that 3 minutes, and absolutely raring to go now.
Yeah,
just something that gets your mind on track. Yeah.
It does, mate. It does. Yeah. Now, look, for a little context for all the people at home, Luke's a builder down in South Australia.
Yep.
And he's come up for another podcast as well. So it's a podcast-a-thon.
That's right.
It's a couple of days.
Anyone else out there?
But I think, mate, we really clicked on a trip. We did a road trip around, it was Melbourne or Victoria.
At this time last year.
Yeah. And we got talking, and just even in the last couple of months that we've been talking, you've been telling me that you've been doing this sort of stuff, not only yourself, but your team as well on the building site. So can you talk us through that, mate? What's been going on there?
Like you say, we're a custom builder in the Barossa Valley down in South Australia, but we've sort of really focused in on the last few months looking at our business purpose and what our values are of the business. And as soon as we've started to share that with the team, they've actually started to resonate with what those values are. And one of them is actually health, and actually started to look at the well-being. And it's something that I've started to look at probably a little bit more seriously, probably within the last 12 months. I think back to that bus trip where we sat in the sauna and then straight into the ice bath afterwards with that as well. And did some breath work sort of stuff as well. And it's just, I don't know, to open my mind up to that. And it has now sort of transferred into the business and basically the foundation of our business. So
how did you start that, mate? Because I started to notice on Instagram you were jumping in the ice bath. And that's become a ritual now, is it?
Yeah,
routine?
So we've sort of, I've just been through a bit of a 10-day challenge, just doing it every day. But before that, it's a bit of I've probably done a lot more running and stuff this year as well, a bit of exercise. So, but it wasn't really used for recovery as such. It was probably, I don't know, being, I suppose, running the construction business, it's definitely helps me center my mind a lot. And it's just, I don't know, you do get some overwhelm sometimes during the day. And if you can, whether it's not in the ice bath, but it's a cold shower in the morning or something like that, or a hard workout or something like that, you just focus and sort of sets you up for the day.
Mate, I want to segue a little bit. You've knocked over a marathon this year. Talk us through that. What happened there, and just the process to get through 42 clicks, mate?
That it's probably the hardest grind I've actually been through. But probably just before that, I was raising money for a charity event, and previous to that, I did 100 days of 30-minute runs. But once off the back of that, I also had a goal at the start of the year that I wanted to run a marathon. That's all come off the back of, I think, looking at my fitness and health over the last 3 years. Before that, all I ever did was play cricket and footy. But now the old number 40 comes up when you get about that old, and I was getting off the tools a bit. So had to think a bit more seriously about it. But running started to come into, I did a 10K event, probably a couple of years ago, and then it went into a half marathon. And so this year I thought, well, let's do a marathon. And
nice.
So then after doing a heap of running at the start of the year, started training 15 weeks sort of just a progression to get to that event. But the longest long run I did previous to 42K was 32Ks.
There you go. I'm always intrigued as to what people train to do before they do 42K.
When I finished the 32, my legs were feeling it massively. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, shit, I've got another 10Ks to go. I wasn't really sure, but I was sort of trusting the training that you'd been doing. But then the event comes, and you just, it's really interesting when you look back in hindsight, but when you're in it, you don't have hindsight to look at. So it's just becomes, I was feeling pretty good, 21 Ks, 25, 26 Ks, and then it started feeling the legs a bit.
Yep.
Then it got to 32, 33, and I'm like, it's going to be a bit of a push now. And then just got to 35, 36 Ks, and that was the first time I started to walk a little bit. And then you walk.
So hang on, you ran for 36 Ks non-stop.
Yeah.
Holy shit, mate. That's a good effort for your first one.
Yeah, so it's just amazing to see and be involved with, even we were doing the marathon, but you watch the half marathon guys that were winning it all, basically coming first, and they are flying past you. How are they doing it, So
it's, mate, I used to do the 5K park runs. I've run a kilometre and they're coming back the other direction and there's bolting. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, it's not good for your ego, mate. It's not. And like, they're finished, and like you can see them, and they've just gone down the end 2.5 clicks and come back.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, I'm not even halfway.
Exactly, and that's how it felt, But
demoralising.
It is. But you know what? I sort of, as I've sort of looked back on it, but while I was still in it, I'm like, you know what? If I keep walking, it's going to take longer to get to the finish. So I just got to suck this pain up and actually just keep moving and try and get it done as quick as I can. And
what was your process to get through those pain barriers? Like, there's obviously you didn't give up.
And
you kept going.
It's a lot of self-talk. Like, it's amazing. Even when you start, you do gym workouts and stuff like that, and when you do the little 9 or 15-minute Metcon sort of stuff, they're short enough that you don't have to dig deep into your own being, if you like. But as soon as you do something longer, all of a sudden it's like, just one more step, Luke. Just one more step. And that's where it gets to. And I remember I had a bit of family and friends down there watching, and I remember my older brother was down there watching, and he thought at 40K he'll come and run next to me for a bit.
For 2K, for 2
well,
clicks?
Just for about 500 metres it probably was. And he goes, gee, you got a reasonable pace at 41Ks.
There you go.
So, but it was an amazing experience. But it's now that I've done it and you take a bit of time to think about it. And I didn't think anything about nutrition in the training. And so now I've started to look at what I'm eating to make, because I lost a lot of strength out of all the running I was doing, and wasn't tracking. I could tell how many calories I was burning in a session, sort of thing. Like you do 20 Ks, you're burning 1,500 to 1,600 cows or something like that. I was putting back into my body probably maybe 200 or 300, So that's how much
you weren't
deficit.
Fueling yourself.
And I wasn't even fueling myself for the run. And I wasn't even getting back to where I should have been. So so basically, you lose all your strength, and then that just feeds onto your skeletal muscles and all that sort of stuff. So so it's become something away from work, it's something it's nearly that hobby thing or that other thing which just lights your fire a bit, and it's that bit of, you need to find that bit of pain somewhere to actually push you to that next limit. Sort of
nice, mate.
It's a bit of a...
Well, like we were talking about yesterday too, you learn the hard way. Like, your shoelaces could be too long, and they could be hitting you on the on the leg. That's a pain in the bum.
Absolutely.
Like, you'd want to rip them bloody off, or not taping your boobs up, or you know what I mean, doing something
all
like
those little things can actually affect you. Well, you mentioned on the paddleboard, like all those little things as well. Like all of a sudden it's like I just have to lift my arm up to rejig something. So
well, it was for me it was the hat.
That's right.
I had a hat that I thought, like, it's great for sun.
But
because the westerly's blowing, the right side would blow into your right eye. And so you couldn't really fucking see.
Moving it all the time.
And so you constantly move and it just blow back. And so painful.
It's the littlest details sometimes of the things that actually affect you.
And I suppose, like, you lead up, you would have worked all the shoes out and all that sort of stuff, and even the right jocks, you got to be wearing.
I wore the same type of running shorts for everything I've done this year. Just because it was a habit. I knew what I was doing, and
but it wasn't a pain in the bum. Like, it's literally,
And you've done a bit of the work, and you say. And people always said to you, the marathon will only start at 30 Ks. I sort of understand what you mean, but once you've done it, I really now know what you're saying. But now when I sort of think I'd like to do another one probably middle of next year, I've got a bit of a lead in to actually think about it a bit more and go again. It hasn't scared me off. Like,
so you've got aspirations to go again?
I'd like to do it again, yeah. And I'd love to run the full distance.
Right, okay. So there's a
those
goal
little
there.
things, you know, you sort of think, not that you've failed because you've actually achieved something,
mate,
but
huge.
at the same time, you're like, how can I do it better?
Yeah,
you know.
So no, that's brilliant, mate. So any other from getting to the end of that? Do you pick up a few points of self-belief? Does your mindset?
Yeah.
Is there a mindset shift
Massive
after that?
Yeah, and it's probably
after you've actually recovered, or
that's right.
come
and
back to earth.
Like you say, I've always craved encouragement from people and people to say you've done a great job at this or that, and like words of affirmation is one of my love languages in that way. And so, but it was probably more the 100 consecutive days. Like that's probably was one thing that really taught me. Number one, what discipline is. Habits, how much time and effort it takes to actually create a good habit. But after that, no one else was out there making me do it. It was all just coming from me. So that's where the self-belief comes from. So, and that's at the end of it, and while you're doing it, you become proud of yourself.
Yeah,
you're not
for sure.
just having someone else tell you that they're proud of you.
You
accept that, and you're happy that you get that feedback.
That's the most important person,
it comes
isn't
from yourself. It has to come
to
from
be proud of yourself, and that's huge, mate.
Because that self, it's that bit of you're not being cocky or anything like that sort of stuff, but you've got that quiet, humble self.
You got a glow about you. I know what you mean, mate. It's I think I wish it upon more people actually. Mate, I've got a kind of rule of thumb. I don't know about yourself, but I find that I whinge for 3 days and then it just becomes what you do.
Yeah.
So if it's doing something in the gym and I've never done it before, it's like fuck, that hurts, or and there's 3 days of getting used to it.
Yeah.
And then the fourth day, it's like, well, we're just doing it. Yeah. So shut the fuck up and get it done. Yeah,
exactly.
Do you have something similar where, like, because over years of just doing different training and different stuff, that seems to be my 3 days.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's not, you realise it's like, you just haven't done it before.
Yeah.
But on the fourth day, it's like, righto, let's do it.
Yeah. I think sometimes you got to be careful, I reckon, where your ego comes into it as well, because you sort of feel like, no, I'll just keep pushing myself and then you can injure yourself as well.
Yeah, most definitely.
We got something at the gym is like, don't do anything today that's not going to turn you up tomorrow.
That's
to
right.
Keep going. So, but one of them for me is like, if we've just got a long, instead of it's a cardio session, instead of going for a run, it might be, getting on the ski erg or something like that. I'll just smash out that for 30 minutes because I know I can get to a place that's just going to get you grinding away.
Yeah,
and
nice.
It's sort of like, so it's sort of, it becomes addictive in a way.
Oh, for sure. Now, I know we segued a little bit there, but that's all got to do with, obviously, do your staff see a difference in you when you start doing these things?
I think they do. I probably don't verbalise it or anything to you, but they sort of go, so how'd you go with the marathon or whatever, or we might mention something like doing an ice bath in the morning. I'll put a post or something up and they'll sort of go, oh, how was that this morning, sort of thing, And so I'd sort of, and it's probably a bit like your own kids and things like that too. It's like you don't know, it's just be you, and then you'll touch people however they're meant to be touched. And so I just feel like if I do that as the owner of the business or whatever, you can actually... you're modelling it and they'll pick up on little bits and pieces of it as well,
For sure.
And it might just be hard work in whatever else they might be doing, so it doesn't have to be the same,
For sure. And look, when did you come to the conclusion, all right, we're putting all these systems and processes and different, we're improving the business, but hang on, let's go back to fundamentals and talk about health, nutrition, mindset, mental health, all the above. When did the penny drop on that? It's like, well, none of this works if people haven't got these things in order.
Yeah, and I think some of that came around, and it's just, again, having an open mind and listening to different stuff. And I just heard a podcast from Paul Roos, and he talked about the culture he created through the Swans.
Paul Roos,
and he set up just a really good structural foundation culture that he said he, as the coach, wasn't the person who was inducting the new draftees. It was actually the leadership group.
Yeah, okay.
So all of a sudden, they're the ones that actually are setting the parameters of what the culture is and what it looks like, what do the behaviours look like and all that sort of stuff. And it started getting me thinking about, we've just come into 10 years of being in business. And for probably the last 5, we've really started to get into doing the stuff that we want to be doing, and that's building new homes and renovations and that sort of thing.
Nice,
but for the next 10, I really wanted to have an overarching view of the business and actually go back to the foundational level and say, right, why do we do what we do?
Yeah.
It's very easy to say, we just want to give a good client a great quality job and that sort of stuff. We actually brainstormed a lot, and it was probably myself and Lisa, my wife.
You've got to understand it.
Correct.
It's got to be an extension of you.
It's got to be driven from us, And so for us to do that, the first key thing, and we worked with an external consultant with it, and she has been fantastic to set that foundation to then go into core values. And then we've just started working with a wellbeing coach and sort of say, well, what do those behaviours actually look like? Because you can't just say, your core value is health.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Or I'm the best builder in Adelaide.
Yeah.
I've actually always been intrigued by the people that put the slogan, we're the second best builder. Or, we're the second best.
Yeah.
As like, I find that really clever. Because it's like, we're not the best.
Yeah.
But we're second best. And I think it's a bit of a piss take.
Yeah.
Wherever you take a bit of piss take.
Everyone's going to say it.
Yeah. But it's like, I don't know, a lot of people I think struggle with marketing and there's that disconnect and they're trying to verbalise, what makes them tick and what they're passionate about and how, they can help.
Yeah.
Or how you can help someone, build their dream home.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you go back to, like, we're genuine people. Genuine's one of our values.
Yep.
Like, not everything goes perfect on a job site. Like, there's things that can go wrong. And I used to kick myself thinking, shit, I've done the wrong thing or whatever. But now I've come to accept that, have a crack and things might not go perfect, but we'll rectify whatever needs to be and we'll work through those problems or those situations. But we're not doing it on purpose, or we're not doing it on purpose. We're genuine people trying to do the absolute best for you.
For sure. Well, look, with you had a chat with Dwayne yesterday, and we went out to dinner last night with all these awesome builders. Yeah. And I definitely see the ship turning in the right direction, where it's where people are starting to. Like, the stigma's still probably around builders is they're fucking shonky or they're
making too much.
There's still that stigma around there, but obviously there's a lot of people and a lot of builders getting on board to say we're kind of sick and tired of that, and obviously that's a small percentage. Yep. But I think on the whole, most builders they want to do a great job.
Absolutely.
And it's again what they don't know.
Yeah, and that also then comes down to, like we talk about a lot with the Live Life Build group, is that you got to see yourself as a professional as well, and not dumb it down to you just a builder. We're a professional. We know a lot of stuff, and we can build these things which. That job site was vacant. Yeah. Now all of a sudden you've got this architecturally built home. So it's sort of. You actually got to give yourself some pats on the back along the way, because otherwise it's like, and don't dumb it down, because there's a lot of information. I think that's where, and it wasn't that long ago I didn't think of myself that way, but you have to have that open mind and to be willing to change and go through some hard things to actually get to that point, So,
Mate, look, I've seen you being really vulnerable at times. Is that those growing moments or realizations, and you're working through things? And because, mate, I just thought it was beautiful to watch, and I just saw you grow in those moments. But I
think
it's like, from a building perspective, it's like, well, hang on, no, builders are fucking tough. Correct. We don't do that sort of stuff, and we suck it up. We just get the hammer out, and we just keep bloody hammering away.
That's it. And that's probably the biggest thing I've found with this group that we've been involved. I've got 100 touch points now where I can talk to people and actually bounce things off of, whereas if you haven't got that, it's a friggin' lonely place to be as a builder like that, and to be the owner, and you've got a family to look after as well. You're trying to show up for your kids and everyone else, and so but the vulnerability side of it is when that stuff happens, that's you do have the realizations, but you sort of you're going deeper into your own self, your own being, and it's sort of, you're not putting on that facade anymore, because someone has asked you a question and it's actually hit you. Where's that come from?
But wherever you hit, there's a release there too.
Absolutely.
And again,
you've shown up to people who aren't judging you.
Yeah.
They're just there to encourage you and love you for what you're doing,
Yep.
and so,
Yep.
and to back you up 100%. So
it's fun, like, because obviously you're on the other side of the fence. Like, there's probably a lot of proud builders out there that and have children, and it's like, no, well, we'll do it the old-fashioned way, but they just bottle it up and just keep building that lasagna, and suppressing it, and it's like, far
and
out. And at some point, I don't think you go to your grave a happy human being. There's always something that wasn't quite right.
And that's that uncomfortable stuff, though, isn't it? Like, you've got to have those uncomfortable conversations, and there's been things in my relationship with Lisa that we've had to work through.
Yeah.
But we haven't ran for the hills either of us. We've actually hung tight and actually worked through the shit because it happens. And if you're not prepared to, you don't see the gold which comes after it.
For sure.
And I think it's the same with any relationship. So but it's
cool. I don't know any relationship that. How boring would it be if it was just it's just doesn't work.
No.
Like, it's just like there's something, like, you've got to go through those in those challenging times.
Yeah, and you got to understand how each person ticks a little bit as well, and that only comes with time.
Most definitely. Yeah,
it's sort of things like, no, I just got to leave that for now. Not jump on it, but just
for sure.
Give it a bit of a spell.
Does Lisa work in the business?
Yeah, she does. Yeah. And so I reckon
so are you guys in each other's pockets a lot?
We're pretty much in the office side by side.
Okay, so you got to get on.
Absolutely, yeah. And sometimes it is those things where it's like, like, I'm not talking about freaking work now.
Yeah,
leave it till tomorrow, sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting because, like, with my wife, you haven't met Sarah yet. Yeah, producer Sarah, she's not here today. Yeah, like, bloody hell,
where is she?
Off to the movies?
That's right.
We communication is just paramount.
Yeah,
and, like, we'll always shut up next day and say, sorry, I was a dickhead.
Yeah.
And you got to call yourself.
Yeah.
It's when you don't call yourself, that's when things start to build.
Yeah.
But, I think we've got very good at just saying, nah, my fault. I'll put my hand up, but, like, who's perfect?
Well, and the other thing too is, even if you feel like you might not be the person in the wrong, I think for me as a bloke, I think that's where you have to still man up and actually just start the conversation. Don't just leave it, because if you leave it, it's people talk about sweeping the shit under the carpet. If you keep sweeping it under there and don't clean under there, you'll just keep piling up.
Spot on.
All of a sudden you start tripping over it and things, people get hurt. And so we've got to deal with it.
Most
clean
definitely.
it up. So
I've like, we did a podcast once with these couple that were, I think they were about 85, 90.
Yeah. In here.
No, this is for another podcast we're doing.
Yeah.
But we got them on because they were just taking the piss. They were so much fun. But it's like, okay, well, what are the things, because you guys have been married for 60 years, what can you teach us? And the one thing that they said, I remember, is like, don't go to bed angry with the other one. So sort it out before you go to bed. And I totally agree with that one. Don't ever do that, because there's 8 hours of beside someone.
And you're just restless,
and
it's just running through your head.
And
sometimes, the thing about vulnerability, and I've watched a lot of Brené Brown sort of stuff, and she talks, it's messy. It doesn't look good. It's not nice. But if you can do it, there's some really good stuff on the other side of it. So
most definitely. And I think, I don't know, a lot of people just fall short, and they're at the edge. And all they got to do is put a foot over. And
and it's that give and take thing too. And I think, I think when you talk about you love someone, well, that's what it means is, it's not loving them when it's perfect. It's actually loving them when it's still shit.
That's it.
So, because it's not always roses,
Well,
they call it a honeymoon period for a reason.
Well, you probably heard it a million times too, mate. When everything's running smoothly, that's the time to put the not the worry hat on, but it's like, okay, hang on, I can't take my foot off the accelerator. But when everything's running smoothly, don't sit back and relax and have a mojito.
Exactly right.
That's when shit hits the fan.
But you got to learn to enjoy those times too.
Oh, most definitely. I actually think, and this is from the outside looking in, because I'm always filming you guys, that you guys have got one of the hardest jobs going around, bar none. And the amount of things that you have to have up in your head, And then not only that, you're dealing with a team of, how big's your team?
Yeah, so we got 5 guys on site, and we've just put on another admin as well. So there's three. Well, I'm sort of supervisor in the office, so 3 and 5. So 8 of us now. So
not only are you dealing with a $6 million contract, right, and helping someone build their dream home with all the, all the beams and studs and
working out
fascias
if that bolt's going to fit into
it. But all that shit.
Yeah.
Then you're also dealing with 6 people's emotions as well.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going on. Their dog die.
Yeah.
Is there a grandma that's sick?
Yeah.
All that as well.
Absolutely.
There's a lot you guys have to deal with. So, and I think,
and I think that's why it's imperative to work on yourself, because you have to. Because if you don't work on yourself, you can't actually show up to any of those people and be the best. So,
that's why I love builders, is because I see 95% of you guys have got this really. You've gone into something that's not easy.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, I've got to live up to this. I've got to work on myself. I've got to do some self-development, self-improvement. Because if I'm just going home and drinking 17 beers and, watching Friends repeats and then going to bed and getting up and hoping that everything's going to be running the next day, you're kidding yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I can see it in leaps and bounds that all these builders are starting to really work on themselves.
Yeah.
And as you said, mate, it kind of starts with you.
Yeah.
And the rest, you obviously you're building those pillars and that structure.
Yeah.
But
it is that it is that structure, I reckon, which I never used to value much at all. It's like, all we need to worry about is just trying to build it and cost the job properly, and that's about it. But you start seeing there's so many other avenues to it, and you just become aware when there's a little thing that's gone not right or the way you wanted to, or you start thinking, why is that? Like, what could have we done better? So that sort of thing.
Where do you think your curiosity came from to go, okay, there's got to be better ways, or I want to try this way, or this way didn't work, let's try that way?
I don't know. I probably think back through my whole career. Like, I left school and I was a boilermaker and went into steel framed housing. That's basically where I got into the housing bug, or got into the housing stuff. So, but after that, it then sort of moved on to building. But the curiosity was, I don't know, like, I always wanted to build houses, I suppose. But I'm not real sure where that's come from.
Why'd you press the go button on Live Life Build? And just for context, people at home, Live Life Build's it's a community of builders that are running better businesses to enjoy life, but it's more about the business, isn't it? And actually running a great business. Yeah,
absolutely. Like, so I've seen it. It's a coaching, mentoring type of platform, I suppose. But within it is this community of builders and when you get together, you can start chatting with different guys, and everyone's all at different points. But
where were you at then? And it's like, okay, I'm going to give.
So I probably started a couple of years before Live Life Build, but I was just on the tools. I was spinning the wheels. We weren't making any money, and it's like getting home at night, and 10:30 turns into 11 o'clock doing quotes, and just weren't getting anywhere. And
did you have any vices, like dopamine hits, to deal with that?
No.
You're never a drinker or a gambler?
No,
not in that
but
stuff?
I think probably earlier on in my late 20s, probably when my lad Ollie was born, I was trying to get acceptance from my peers. The way I was doing that was by drinking. Being a bit of a Yahoo sort of guy. And probably not many people would know of that, but that's how I sort of felt. And it was affecting.
You're looking for that connection too.
You were, and that sort of someone to say, "Oh, you're a funny fella," all that sort of stuff. But then out of that, myself and Lisa worked through a fair bit of that sort of thing. But then it sort of got into building, and we were sort of we had moved to a new area, like where we are, and it took about 5 or 6 years. And I went and got my builder's license and those sorts of things. And I thought, oh well, you just got to put 15% on a job and happy days, we'll just start building, and all of a sudden you're just not getting anywhere. And so it was at that point, you start looking at business coaches and all this sort of stuff. So we reached out to one, had them for a while, but then it was really when I started following a lot of Dwayne stuff, and Amelia's undercover architect stuff come up as well, and all of a sudden it was this Live Life Build thing, and I'm like, the living the life bit got me, and I was like, actually, this sounds like it's a bit more. And watching what these two were about, seemed a little bit more real to me. And so I was really part of one of the first intake into that program.
Oh, were you? I didn't know that. Yeah, you go.
So really, that's been 3 for 4 years. I've probably been involved and still there. And it's like, so now it's amazing to sort of be able to see new builders come in and start, and just know that it takes time. Like, don't feel like you got to make it all happen right now. It's just going to slowly keep chipping away.
The one thing I can see even by the new builders coming through is they've all got that bright-eyed, bushy tail, wanting to learn, and not wanting to do what maybe their dad did or the builder that taught them when they were apprentice. But there's this good attitude and great attitude actually, and like I can't every guy that I've had a chat with. It's just it's value, and it's a rich conversation, and I'm a better person when I leave that conversation. So it's great.
The guys we caught up with last night as well. Like, you're always looking at, even Live Life Build itself. It's like, I wonder if we should catch up a little bit more and do more live events. Or,
Well, mate, it's good that you came to town.
It was just and that's the thing. Like, I probably wouldn't have even reached out and said actually, but straight away when you have a connection with people, like a lot of the time we're doing Friday wins and all this sort of stuff over Zoom and all over the Facebook group and stuff like that. But all of a sudden you start to get to know people and they say, oh, awesome, great to hear that. Or,
nice.
And some people get vulnerable on there as well, saying, I've had a shit day. This stuff's happening in my personal life or, and all of a sudden people jump in and help.
That's awesome.
Like, it's just amazing to get that encouragement. But the curiosity sort of thing, I'm becoming curious with so much more. I reckon. How better can we do things, or even different building products? Can we make things more efficient? Or build, and so health, like, is one of the values. Is like, we want to build a healthier home so the occupants actually like feel at peace within their home. And it's just sort of like it's full,
it's super important, isn't it?
Sort of thing.
It's I just back to what you're talking about before, I see, and like coming on the podcast, all these builders that are super passionate about what they're, that they love building, but they just can't reach out. And then with that non-reaching out, there's that loneliness of, this is all on me. And it doesn't have to be that way when you see what you guys do. But this is, I think, their first couple of episodes, like in the first 50, I reckon there would have been 5 or 6 builders that had just lost their passion for building, and they'd quit. And they just didn't stick in there, but you could see that they loved it. They just didn't know how to run the business, and that was a real shame. Because,
and that's probably, I sort of look at myself, and I actually like trying to work out how to get the business to tick really well, probably rather than the nuts and bolts of how the job goes together. And I'm always thinking, I sort of call it the business development sort of stuff, like what new products or what person do I need to bring into the pre-construction team so that the client gets a better outcome, And like just recently we brought an energy assessor into part of the team, and that's the first time, but the value we've got out of doing that, we can get some real good direction with where the job's going now.
Nice, mate. Nice.
But again, you all of a sudden got a connection with another person, and you're on the same page, and that team, another team has been created.
Spot on, mate.
But no, it's brilliant. Like, I love doing it, and the personal wins and stuff that you have along the way.
Awesome, mate.
They're good.
Awesome. So, now, mate, I'd love to keep talking to you, but we're losing the light here.
We are. I was going to say, I thought you might get a bit dark out there.
Mate, is there any? What's beside another marathon next year? Is there any other big goals that you want to knock off?
Yeah, like I say, I got a lot of business goals, like to do things with that. But like personally, I'd love to walk Kokoda. I think we've mentioned a bit of that too. Like,
you're coming now.
Put that on the list.
Yeah. Well, this is down the barrel. This is like a journal entry right here.
Okay.
It's like we were just talking last night because Luke was on Dwayne's podcast yesterday, and we've organised a trip to Kokoda if it's opened.
That's right.
Yeah. But Luke's signing up. He's coming.
Absolutely.
So
Let's do it.
I think I'm super stoked. I can't wait to do it. Yeah.
But like even fun. I sort of other fitness sort of stuff, but that's become it's becoming a bit of a passion. Like I go to a CrossFit gym, and there's a lot of movements and stuff within CrossFit that I'd like to learn and get better at as well. So
nice.
There's never you've always got a zone that you're staying in, but you can always go beyond it.
Spot on.
You know, through
Spot on.
work and
Yeah.
keep consistency.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Luke, you're a bloody legend, mate.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming in the sauna for a chat.
Good.
And I forgot to do the ladle at the start. Do you want to do an exit ladle?
We're exiting the ladle.
For everyone at home that comes in the sauna, notice that Luke's doing it with the right hand and not the left hand, and just to save the burning. Yeah, mate, you're an absolute legend. Thank you so much for coming on
Thanks for having me.
Sauna Sessions with Shay.
Excellent.
Guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and if you want to jump in the sauna for a chat or the deluxe package as Luke did today, hit me up, and we'll see you for the next episode. Thanks, gang.
Catch up.